Welcome to another episode of Action Martial Arts Magazine TV. We want to welcome our friends, our families, and our fans. With us today is my co-host, KJ Kordick. And of course, we all know I'm Ross Greenberg. Our guest today is a fabulous actor, Mike Barnes on Cobra Kai. We've got Sean Kanan. Hi, Sean. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's good to be here with you.
So, basically, the thing that in the martial arts world, of course, we're excited about your part on Cobra Kai. You've had a tremendous acting career. You've written books. You've done all kinds of things. So you're not just an actor, and you're not just Mike Barnes from Cobra Kai. I want to make sure that that's understood. But we, of course, are very excited about the part that you play on that because we're martial artists, you know?
Yeah. I'm a soap opera girl, okay? So that's yoo-hoo, yeah!
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So it must have been really, really exciting and interesting to get to reprise the role of Mike Barnes on Cobra Kai.
Why? I mean, it's not very often that you get the opportunity to revisit a character from 35 years ago. And, it's compounded by the fact that by the time I got on the show, which was in the 5th season, it had already moved from YouTube Red, which had a small, very dedicated following, to Netflix, where it had become an international juggernaut. And so I had to wait a little while to get on, but it was actually really worth it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And everybody's very excited about you being on the show. And the really amazing, I think one of the most amazing things is I love the redemption story, right? Art Camacho has been on our show. Art is a fabulous director, and he is like, that's his favorite thing, is the story of redemption. Yeah. And you get to do that in the episodes that are now in, through season 5 of Cobra Kai, and you get to have this whole redemption thing for the character Mike Barnes. So how did you feel about that? Like what went through your head when you're going through the script and you're going through the process and seeing that this is going to be a change?
I think that you have to see evolution in a character, especially if it's a character you haven't seen in 35 years. I mean, maybe Barnes became a much worse human being. Maybe he became a much better one, but he certainly did not stay the same as that 17-year-old kid. So for me, it was really important that I was able to show a different aspect of the character, not just this one-dimensional thug that he was. And that's very much how it was written when I played it. But, 35 years later, both as a man and as an actor, I've got a lot more life experience and depth to bring to the role this time. So it was really fun because, I did get to play a lot of different colors that didn't exist when I originally played it. And I think that, a redemption arc is an amazing opportunity for actors because right away, that you're going to be able to play different moments and have exciting changes unfold and all of that. It was terrific.
Well, when they brought you on board, did they discuss with you what the direction they were thinking about? Did you have any input?
Well, first of all, I want to say that the big three graciously set up a Zoom call with me. I think Hayden wasn't able to be there, but it was Josh and it was John. And they said, do you have any ideas about this? And I just kind of said, look, who am I to tell you guys how to make your hit show better? I said, I would just like to respectfully ask 2 things. The first is that there's evolution in the character, and the second is that there's some humor to the character, because at the heart of Cobra Kai, there's a lot of humor. And I do stand up. I mean, for me, I love comedy and everything. And so they came through on both of those requests. As far as did they give me an idea of what I was going to do? So they started telling me this story about Mike Barnes owns a furniture store, and I'm listening to him and I'm like, I don't get this. What is it? And then when they said the furniture store burns down, then I got it. Then I understood that's the call to action that Barnes has, and it all sort of made sense.
It literally ignites him. So
yeah.
But was it like a high school reunion? Did you feel like high school reunion-ish a little bit when you got back with the original cast?
I guess so, yes, but it was more, when I was working on the film, I was a 21-year-old kid. I mean, it was full of piss and vinegar, and the producers really kept me and Ralph apart. And I think they did that intentionally. And it was really wonderful to go back years later with both Ralph and I now as fathers, husbands, older guys, and get to basically reconnect and re-meet each other as the people we are today, as opposed to, the circumstances under which we met originally and who we were then. And, he's a terrific guy. I had never worked with Billy Zabka, but I actually knew Billy before I did Karate Kid 3. So I wanted to work with Billy for decades. And for me, that was a bucket list thing. And I've known Yuji for years. So I would say it was a little less of a high school reunion, because over the years I have seen the guys at different things, Comic-Cons, things like that. It was really a great feeling to be able to go down to Atlanta, having full confidence of, who I am now as an actor, and just be like, come what may, whatever comes my way, I'm ready for it. And I'm here to bring my A game. And, when I was doing Karate Kid 3, I was a very, very, very new actor. I mean, I had a very, limited toolbox. And, now years later, I was able to bring a lot more to it, I think.
Yeah, before Cobra Kai, I know you were in some kind of slasher film before that, I think. And
I was in a terrible slasher film, and then I had done a guest star on a show called Werewolf for Fox.
Oh, wow.
And and that's it. I mean, I had just gotten into acting class, and so I think, what they recognized in me is I had a certain charisma, mostly born out of arrogance and youthful hubris and everything, but it tied into what they needed for the character. And I had studied martial arts, so I could do the martial arts, but it would have been really boring and redundant if that's who Barnes was, 35 years later.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And what's really funny is the way you're explaining it makes a lot of sense, both for the character Barnes as a kid and the adult who you are now, and that the whole dynamic actually plays real well, because it parallels almost. Not that you were a bad guy for real back then, but I'm just saying you were a kid back then. Now you're an adult with all the responsibilities. So is Ralph Macchio in his real life, and you meet, you get to know each other, and you're doing the same thing. Yeah. In the series, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild.
It's interesting how I find this on the soap operas I've worked on too, how my current real life very frequently, I should flip it around. I should say how the roles I'm playing on an ongoing show like a soap opera evolve as I evolve and change in my personal life. It's very strange, but there's almost a preternatural awareness of who the actors are in the real world, and that finds its way into the scripts, that the writers work on. And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, it's interesting. This character is going through this and learning from this and evolving from this. And that's something maybe that I just recently have done. So I don't know.
You remind me of my fighters for Waco USA Kickboxing. Yeah. A lot of them at your age, like Romeo Roscoe, was just like you. I was watching your audition, and I was like watching my fighters, at that young age, and they're like flipping around and turning around, and they're all kind of good looking, and and I was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm watching Romeo Roscoe right now.
That's so funny.
Athletes, because he's just like you, and that's what he's known for, the charisma, and that's what I saw. If I was walking down that line like that the person that picked you out of the line,
John Avildsen.
That was exactly the way you look. You stood out of that whole group. It didn't surprise me that he saw you, because sometimes you just see that light and that something in somebody, and look at you all these years later. You do have a really interesting story.
Thank you. It's interesting. I went home. I was living in Los Angeles. I was finishing my degree at UCLA. pursuing my acting career, and I went back to my hometown in Pennsylvania, and I was hanging out on the curb with my two best buddies at this, like a Quickie Mart deal where we used to go and shoot the shit and have a beer and talk. And I said, there's this part, they're looking for the new bad guy in Karate Kid 3. And I said, I'm going to get that role. And they didn't laugh at me. They knew, and I can't explain it, but I just felt a sense of destiny that I was going to get that role. There were a lot of weird things. Like, for instance, Fumio Demura was my martial arts teacher, but he was also Pat Morita's stunt double. And so he played into the story because when the time came for Robert Mark Kamen and Pat Johnson, who's the stunt coordinator, and John Avildsen to ask him about me, he was like, no, Sean's a good guy. He's a serious guy. And so him giving me that stamp of approval, that put me like one step closer to getting it. Like, I don't know, I haven't told this story a whole lot. My then girlfriend was working for the producer, Sheldon Schrager, in his office. And so when I screen tested for the role, she was already working for him, and I knew that, and they knew I was her boyfriend, but they hired somebody else. And so they had this kid working for about 2 weeks, and I guess it didn't work out. And I think my girlfriend at the time she kept planning, the bug, saying, check out my boyfriend again. And they called me to come back. So there were a lot of interesting things that were really out of my control that seemed to be aligning on my side for me to get the role. Sounds a little crazy, but it's how I feel.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I love it. That's a great story. I love it. That's amazing. Now, KJ was telling me that right around that time, you wound up having this thing. Something happened to you. You wound up in the hospital. You had something happen with your abdomen. You had this.
You never heard this story?
Momentum? No.
Wow.
No, he never heard it. So just think of a man, like on a different multiverse. What if you didn't fight through that? Would you?
I'm gonna take a left turn for just a second, and I'll bring it back around. So, my third book, which is the first in the Way of the Cobra series, is called Way of the Cobra, and I tell the story in great detail in that book. So if you want to read about it, you can go on Amazon or Barnes & Noble and pick up Way of the Cobra. I also just did a TedXTalk, which came out about 8 days ago, and it was selected as the editor's choice by TED. And in that TED Talk, I relate that story as part of the overall topic that I'm talking about. So basically what happened was that we had broken for the Christmas holidays, and I went to Las Vegas. And on Christmas Day, 1988, I passed out in the Dunes Casino. I had been experiencing a really bad pain in my left thigh, which I thought was from all the martial arts I was doing. So I was taking a lot of aspirin. Well, it turned out that I had internal bleeding, and the aspirin is a blood thinner. It exacerbated the bleeding. My blood pressure dropped, and I found myself in the emergency room. And they said, okay, we need you to sign this paper. And I said, why? They said, well, because we're going to have to take you into surgery, and we can't guarantee we can save your life. And I mean, you want to talk about shit getting very real very quickly? Mm-hmm. And I said, what do you mean? Like, I have to go Monday? And they said, no, you have to go in 10 minutes. And I come from a family of doctors, and before they were putting me under, I said to the surgeon, because I knew they didn't know what was wrong with me. They had to do exploratory surgery, which is when they just open you up. And I knew if they cut through my abdominal muscles, there was no way I could heal in enough time to finish the movie, because I had to be back in like 2.5 weeks. And I said, if it's at all possible, can you resect the muscle when you're looking for what's going on? And they did. So I woke up, I had a 12-inch wound in my abdomen with staples going down it. And, the first thing I thought of was, what about my role in the movie? And I didn't have to wait very long, because John Avildsen called me, and pretty much in no uncertain terms, he said, you need to be back in 10 days or I'm going to fire you and we're going to cast somebody else. And I remember thinking, welcome to Hollywood, kid. Yep. And then something interesting happened. I started getting pissed off. And that gave me my why. I was like, there's no way that I came this far that I'm not going to finish this movie. And the first day I was able to get out of bed and walk to the bathroom 10 feet away, and I just collapsed back in the bed. I was exhausted. And, a couple days later, I could walk around the entire hallway of the hospital, and then 5 times around. And ultimately I had them discharge me against medical advice. And they decided I'd lost like 35 pounds in probably 8 days. A lot of it water, obviously, but, and they said, okay, well, we'll keep you in the movie, but we're going to have someone else do all the martial arts, and we'll use you for close-ups, which is an utterly horrendous option. Mm-hmm. And I wound up working out with a guy named Kyle Borland from the LA Rams back in '88. And long story longer, I rehabilitated myself with his help, and I wound up rejoining the film, and I did every one of my own martial arts stunts. And it was one of the greatest learning experiences and life experiences I've ever had. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but in a lot of ways, I wouldn't trade it either.
It was a defining moment.
It was, because I was faced with a choice. I could either, allow myself to become a victim of my circumstances, or I could fight. And I chose to fight. And it revealed a part of my personality that I didn't really knew existed up until that point. We don't know until we're tested who we really are sometimes. And, when you're 21 years old, you think you're immortal. And to learn in one fell swoop, you're not immortal, and you're not only not immortal, your mortality might be taken away from you very quickly. And it was very intense, and it was very scary, but it really helped define me as a man as I've gone on in life.
Was that your first time experience like real fear? Like, people don't, if you've never experienced real fear, you have no idea what real fear is.
I would say that way, and I think it still ranks up there as probably one of the greatest, most terrifying thing that's ever happened to me. But you got 2 choices. You either, if you go to the left, you go to the right, and that's all you can do.
Do you ever think what would happen if you didn't find that inner strength to get through that? Would you ever think like maybe on like a multiverse, say in that your way? Do you ever wonder what your career would be like? Would it be the same?
I honestly believe that I would have figured it out somehow to make a career. I think, though, that if I hadn't kind of dug deep down inside, that I would have secretly felt like, I don't know if saying a coward is the right thing. That might be a little strong, but I think I wouldn't have some of the confidence that I have in myself right now. And it's a confidence not born out of arrogance. It's a confidence born out of, first of all, having a very healthy respect for the fragility of life, but also knowing that, at least in that instance, when push came to shove, I was able to do what I needed to do. Does that mean that I'll be able to do it every time? No, but when you've done something once, you've got a leg up on someone who's never done it, so it's not completely unfamiliar territory. And every time, I'm having a challenge or something difficult, I say to myself, is it as challenging as bleeding to death on Christmas Day in Humana Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas, faced with losing the opportunity of a lifetime? No. So, buck up, buttercup, and take care of it.
Well, you definitely did. You definitely did. I think, honestly, like you said, I think you as a person would have been successful no matter what you did, because I feel like that's who you are. In fact, everyone needs to go watch that TED Talk. It was
please watch
the best. I loved it.
Did you? Thank you.
Yes, I loved it.
Can you guys put a link up or something like that?
We'd be happy to do that. We'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And then we'll also put links in our website, because it appears on our website.
But it was definitely resonating.
Thank you.
And that's how I actually learned about what I didn't even know that. And you think you know everything, and then when I all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, wow, no, like just that pressure as a young 21-year-old to know that if you didn't do this, you're gonna be like basically fired is a very surreal feeling because they don't give a shit. You're just a number. I was a basketball player looking to colleges, blew my ankle out. They all said goodbye, and it was a very humbling experience because you're not important anymore.
Look, I don't want to sound like I'm being jaded or cynical. There's some very wonderful people in the business. But at that point in my career, the only value that I had to them was what I could bring as that character. They didn't know me. We weren't friends. I was a kid they hired and gave an amazing opportunity to, and I had become a liability within a month not of my own fault, but now it was like I was a problem. It's like, are we going to be able to continue with this movie? We fired the first guy playing the role. The second guy, we don't know if he's going to make it out of this medical, so I understand it from their perspective. I think in retrospect, it could have been handled with a lot more compassion on the part of the studio and the production,
But that's just not how it works.
But you know
reality
what?
Right away. You learn from a young age. Reality right away.
I learned. And again, like I said, I'm not being cynical about it, but it's called show business, not show friends. And what that taught me was not to be resentful, but to understand that it's a business and I'm a commodity, and what I can bring to the table is my biggest asset. And if you can't bring that to the table, even if people like you, which there's lots of people I've worked with and continue to who like me on my show and I like them. But the fact of the matter is that, I'm there because of what I can do. And if I can't do it, they're going to find someone else who can. And I learned, this is what I was circling around, is that I learned that, everybody's replaceable. Almost everybody is. Tom Cruise, not so much. I get it, but everybody's replaceable. And then I saw this great quote a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, I'm replaceable, but it would be a downgrade."
I like that actually, because it kind of is,
But you know what it is it's understanding that it's understanding reality and having humility, but also having ownership of who you are and what you bring to the table. And that's why I like that quote. It's a balance, Yeah, I'm not irreplaceable, but I also know what I bring to the table, and whoever you get, they might be fabulous, but it ain't going to be me.
Well, and Tom Cruise was nothing compared to the Outsiders. He was just a bit part, if you think about it, and look at what, you know what I mean? In a way, just a bit part in the Outsiders back then. He wasn't well known. So that's kind of interesting to see how far he's come, and how far that whole group has come. But he was no Rob Lowe,
you're right. At that time, yeah. So something kind of interesting is there was a short-lived television series on Fox called The Outsiders, and I was in it. I played the head of the Socias, which was the rich kids gang. Yeah. And I grew. Yeah, I grew up on S.E. Hinton books, and so for me, that was another one. And oddly enough, Ralph was in the film The Outsiders, so I've had some interesting kind of overlaps with my career and Ralph's and some of the things we've done.
So the I don't know, KJ, I don't know if you have any other questions about Cobra Kai, but I have one which I'm going to ask, which was, what was your favorite scene in the Cobra Kai, not necessarily the original film, but now the
no doubt about it. It was the scene with the limo where we had Ralph and Billy and Yuji, and we didn't have a lot of time to film it. And you've got 4 different actors, big strong personalities, and sometimes it takes a couple moments for you guys to figure out your rhythm. And it wasn't like that from the minute we rehearsed it. We all got what we wanted to do, needed to do, and it interacted really, really well. And sometimes, everything's firing on all pistons. And that was one of those deals. Just, I mean, who knew Yuji Okamoto is so funny, right? You know, I mean, he's great. And you know, the biggest problem I had was trying not to laugh when, you know, Billy's doing his lines. He goes, you know, the guy sucker kicked me, and the guy kicked me too. In my case, a sucker kick. And he goes, the bad boy is right. And I'm thinking, I'm 57 years old, and I'm still the bad boy of karate. You know, I don't know. I found it I really love that scene. It was incredibly.
That scene's going to
fun.
be, I think, iconic. Is going to go down one of the iconic scenes.
It was actually up until season 6. Ralph said that it was his favorite scene in the series.
Nice.
So yeah, or maybe that episode was his favorite episode. But yeah, it was really terrific.
The bad boy. I'll never forget that. I mean, that was hysterical, I have to admit. Yeah. And then to find out that you do comedy, you know, there's just so much to you. We would definitely have to have another interview because
I love that.
You know, we only got 45 minutes, but wow, I mean, you definitely have.
I appreciate that.
So Tom, Cjo Tom Getling is my mentor, and he's always seen himself as the bad boy of martial arts, like for real. So sometimes when I'm talking, like, okay, Mike Barnes, and so I use you as a reference.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, and Ross, I mean, not to cut, I was going to say, Ross cooks.
Oh, yeah. I had a question because you did that whole book on the modern gentleman, you know, cooking
and entertaining with Sean Kanan. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool because, like, I like to cook. After my second divorce, who knew? Like, both of my wives always cooked, and they love to cook. And I walk in the kitchen like, get out. But then after I got divorced the second time, and I started to find out I really have this thing about cooking, and I got good at it. I learned all these techniques, and one of my martial arts students, actually went to chefing school. So he comes in, and we're doing things together. We started doing like a little show. It started as a joke. It's called Jedi Master Chef.
I love that.
Yeah. So so somebody called me that one day. It was a joke, and so we took off with it. And
great title.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. But I hear, you know, so I was really cool to hear that, you know, you have your own book and a whole thing, and you enjoy cooking.
I love cooking. I just came out with my own line of hot sauces too.
Really?
So, look at this. This is Bad Boy hot sauce. This is Cobra Venom.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so you guys gotta order some. It's delicious.
Oh my God! Wait. What's it called?
Three flavors. The website is badboyeats.com. It's fantastic. I've got mango madness, which is habanero and Indian mango. There's red pepper punch, which is spicy red pepper. It's not that spicy though. It's about a 4 to 10. Jalapenos, white garlic, green onions, cilantro. It's kind of like a medium salsa level of heat. And then there's Cobra Venom, which has the Carolina Reaper, and it's very spicy, but it's not one of those ones that, you know, is like, oh, it's so spicy you won't be able to. Like, who wants that? Like, I mean, I want something that is spicy, that brings the heat, but has a good taste to it. And so I just thought, you know, Bad Boy is a great name for it. I don't know if you can see it, but it looks kind of like my.
What kind of goes with you?
Yeah. So
there you go.
So that's been a really, really fun new venture, getting involved in this new business. We're having tremendous success with it. And lots of people are, you know, repeat customers. And please check it out. badboyeats.com.
Yeah, I'm going to buy some.
All right. Love it.
Like I said, I love cooking. I think it's a creative outlet. Like we do martial arts. Yeah. Like the acting thing, you know, it's all the, and I'm not surprised with the way you are and your creative nature. I'm not surprised that you love cooking because it's another creative avenue. You know, you
absolutely. And I also think that cooking is, it's a conduit for connectivity with a relationship. You know, I mean, you serve somebody food and sit down and break bread with them. I mean, I'm convinced that there are very few. You could put almost any two people together, and if they eat a meal together and share a meal together in conversation, they're going to come out of it with a greater understanding for each other than maybe they would have had before. And I, you know, there's something there's something almost instinctual about when someone is giving you food. I mean, they're giving you life force, sustenance. It's demonstrating, on a very visceral, primal level. And then as far as the one cooking it, I think there's like a symphonic quality to it, meaning, in a symphony, you've got the brass section, you've got the percussion, you got all this. And when you're cooking, you've got all these different things going on to make one thing. I find it almost therapeutic.
I couldn't understand for the longest time. My mom made, prepared Passover, and this takes like days. This is like one day thing. You guys sit there preparing everything. She made everything from scratch, the charosis, the whole thing. And we would have a table like a million miles long, and we'd always have our family, and then we'd invite other families to come each night, right? And I was like, my God, you cook for days. What could you, and then all the cleanup, that, right? But at this point, when I started cooking and sharing my cooking with other people, like you're talking about, I finally got it that when you make food and you see people eat the food and that look on their face, like, oh my God, this is just, there's something in your heart that just goes faster. It's like, they're digging my food. So
it's like a demonstration of your mother's love. It's like, of course we don't need this much food, but we're able to do it. And she wants to do it and go through the 3 days of cooking and everything.
Since we're talking about food, is that how you stay so fit? I mean, not many men, at your age look, basically like they're still 21.
Oh my God, bless you.
I mean, you told me, it's like.
KJ said to me when she found out we were interviewing him, she goes, I told her when to interview him, he's like hot as hell.
Well, it's like Sasha Mitchell. Sasha Mitchell's son looks so much like him that people think he's the one in the movie, because people, to the normal public, you're kind of stuck in a time zone in a movie.
Right.
So his son looks so much like Sasha Mitchell that people think it's him. And he's like, no, that's my dad, 25, 30, you know what I mean? But he looks, it's weird because Sasha told me, because I'm friends with Sasha. Sasha told me it's...
Would you tell him I said hi? I just saw him at the Hollywood show a couple months ago.
Yeah, he does a lot. He's into welding now, and does all his, kind of got away from Hollywood. He's went through a bad marriage, and he kind of took a step back to raise his kids, and he's a fun guy. I just love him to death. But it's weird to hear the story how he says that his son, everyone thinks he's his son because he's sort of immortalized in this time zone, and people don't realize, hey, it's 40 years later, and I don't look like this anymore. So, but you look pretty close to your, it's because Sasha still looks good, but he definitely doesn't look like you. So it's like, hey, Sasha,
I kind of, first of all, listen, I quit drinking about 4.5 years ago. That definitely helped.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I've become very, I'm not mental about food, but I know what I can eat and I know what I can't eat. And I'm fortunate. I can work out with a trainer. And I figure I treated my body a bit like a nightclub for the first 50 years. So I'm doing my best to treat it like a temple for the next 50.
But, there wasn't a lot of press on you. It wasn't like you were known. I mean, I felt like there was a lot of bad. I mean, you had a couple of drinking things, and that UK rehab thing was like, I don't know what they were doing with you there.
Here's the thing. I mean, I like to think I never intentionally treated anybody badly. I mean, I wasn't a malicious guy. I mean, if I was hurting anybody, it was myself. And so I think probably to some extent that gave me a little bit of a shield from getting, really horrendous press. But, I just, I made some really big changes in my life. I mean, I have a wonderful marriage. And I think that, when you're happy in your relationship, you exude a light and a vibration that when you're unhappy, you don't. And so I think that's probably part of it.
Yeah. I actually used one of your saying with my husband, in spite, it was great. It's like, you love me, honey, even though my drawer's messy, because that's part of me, not in spite of me.
that's so funny you say that, because my wife and I have our
That's where I got it from.
Yeah. She said,
I threw it in his face. I was just like, in spite. No, you love me because I would do perfect. I wouldn't be me. I would,
Right.
Because I know your wife has 4 children, correct? And you have 1, correct?
Right.
So I kind of like that. Was really cute.
I want you to get to the family thing, but I want to ask one question before we leave the recipe thing. So, what is your favorite thing to cook?
Ooh.
I know it's tough. That's a tough one because I got lots of things. But like, if someone asked me, I'd say my ribs, man. I love making
your ribs.
My Cajun ribs are just off the hook.
I do a really good pasta bolognese. But I call it pasta puttanesque because it's half puttanesca, which has capers and olives, and half bolognese. I like to make I can make lamb chops over couscous with roasted vegetable. I mean, I can make a lot of different things. I don't bake because baking is actually very mathematical. You really have to adhere to the directions, and I like to be more improvisational and just, I can make the same thing and it never tastes exactly the same each time because it's this, throw some of that,
I just made my first banana bread last night.
Oh, banana bread.
I never baked. I made banana bread.
I'd be so bad if I baked.
You know what I love about, forgive me if I'm plugging the hot sauce again, but I've had so many people come up to me and tell me these out of the box things they do with the hot sauce. The one that I told you that's not super hot, which is called the red pepper punch. Somebody came up and said, I made a tuna melt and I poured half a cup of it in with the tuna and mixed it up. And I said, oh, this is really good. And my makeup artist at Bold the Beautiful said, I took the mango habanero, the mango madness, and I put balsamic vinegar in it and I used it as a salad dressing. And he said it was bonkers, and I said that's amazing. I love hearing this. So,
I like ketchup and cottage cheese, so I'm kind of looking forward to trying the hot sauce and the cottage cheese.
That would be good. That would be really good.
That would be really good. Ketchup and cottage cheese is so good. I bet that hot sauce would be so yummy.
Yep.
Here in Illinois, using hot sauce in mac and cheese is a big deal. We do that.
That sounds good too.
So I want to try yours in mac and cheese because that's the big thing.
Absolutely.
But that's really cool. I love. Do you on your website? Do you have a thing where people could submit what they do with your sauce?
I would have to check the website again because we just redid it. But you can definitely send me an email and I'll put it up on there. And we do have sort of testimonials from people cooking with it and stuff like that. I love seeing that.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I think that's a great thing. You
should do it on your Jedi Ninja cooking show. We
should do that.
Yeah. We
do that.
Hello.
You know what? I will do that and then send you a thing to this so you see it. Yeah, that'd be cool. I would love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would totally do that.
Cool.
That's so neat, man. He's great. I love him. He's so great.
I know we can talk forever, but I know that you got a lot on your plate today. So I'd love to get into how you got into soap operas. Ross, you don't know about soap operas like us women do.
Don't be too sure. When I was a kid, there wasn't a whole lot. Now the thing is, Kanan and I are actually right around the same age. Believe it or not, I was born in 1965.
At 66, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm older than you.
And back then, soap operas during the daytime TV, they dominated. That was actually the people who did all the commercials sponsored the soap operas, and that's why they're
called soaps.
Yeah.
I didn't really intend on getting into soaps. I had done Karate Kid 3 and then did some theater for a while, and then I did The Outsiders, and I did a television movie with Oliver Stone, and then a friend of mine, he's actually my cousin by marriage, Steve Burton, who played Jason Quartermain. He said, listen, they got rid of the guy who played my brother. They need a new guy. And people used to always comment that we had this unbelievable physical resemblance, which we really did. And he said, you want to come in and audition? And I wound up screen testing for it, and I got it. And then there I was.
AJ Quartermain, right?
There I was. And that lasted years. And, I went off, did some other stuff. And then got an offer to do Bold and the Beautiful, and that was in 2000. So this year is my 25th year since first coming on the Bold and the Beautiful.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's a whole different life, though. Than the soap opera life is different than the other genre. Because I hear it's a grueling, a lot different. Is that true?
Yes and no. We have a lot of time off. We only shoot four days a week. We work for 3 weeks and then we're off an entire week. We have a week off at Christmas and a month off in Christmas and a month off in spring. So we have a lot of time off. But when you're actually working, it's tremendous volume of dialogue. I had 21 scenes yesterday, and I had a fight that wasn't choreographed. So, I showed up and had 21 scenes and had to learn a fight that I was going to do later that day. So you have to be extremely, you have to be able to move very quickly and remember a lot of dialogue. And, I don't know how a lot of younger actors, you can be a terrific actor, but if you can't remember the amount of dialogue required, you're not going to last. I know acting isn't about remembering dialogue. It's kind of like, being an architect isn't about knowing how to screw in a light bulb. But if you don't know how to do the basic things, you're not going to be able to do the more advanced things that, I don't know.
I'm lucky can only bring you so far. I'm a third generation in the broadcast business. Yeah. And, like my dad says, if you don't got the talent, I don't care who you know. You know what I mean?
That's true.
They're going to throw you out,
So you had a fight scene on the soap opera.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Did you take the opportunity to say to the guy, you do realize I was Mike Barnes on Cobra Kai, right?
I didn't have to. He said to me, I can't, but he said, I'm doing a fight scene with Mike Barnes. So, and it's great because my character on Bold and the Beautiful is a black belt. So I get to do martial arts when I fights on the soap opera.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking while KG's talking, I'm going, oh God, I got to ask this.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. I love being on the Bold and the Beautiful. It's an amazing job, an amazing group of people. And I'm very blessed. I'm very, very happy. I live my life in gratitude and abundance, and I'm grateful for what I have. It doesn't mean that I'm not always, reaching higher, but I don't look at it like, I've been on a soap for a lot. It's a fantastic job, and I get to do lots of other things like Cobra Kai and other stuff, and then I have the immense privilege of being able to, call my show on CBS home and go there and, have worked there off and on for 25 years.
Wow.
I like how you take your experience and you put it into books and trying to get other people to, learn from you because, you're speaking by actions. Like, your TED Talk was really that good, people. You really got a lot. Because I was just blown away because you just don't realize the struggle until you realize you're a real person.
That's it. That's a really good point, KG. Everybody is fighting a private war that someone else doesn't know about. And it's very easy for people to they look at me and say, oh, this guy's on a show and he's got it all together. Let me tell you, everyone's life's messy. Everybody's life's messy. I don't care what it looks like from the outside. And I just feel like and felt like showing my journey of what it took to get to where I am today with lots of false starts, pitfalls, challenges, etc. Hopefully it'll offer some faith and inspiration to people that are struggling and realize that, everybody gets tested. Everybody has that moment when they're on the edge. And those are the moments that we grow. Growth doesn't happen from comfort. It happens from discomfort, when we're tested. But I really hope that people will watch the TED Talk. It's just Google Sean Kanan, TEDx. And
well, we're going to put it up on our site.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I handle this.
Well, and you're not young. I mean, let's face it, we're not spring chickens anymore.
No.
And to be still alive.
With the man alone.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. You know, to be at our age still alive and made it through all these humps, alcoholism, marriage, you know, all the stuff you went through. I saw that UK thing that they tried to take advantage of you and stuff. I felt like,
oh yeah,
oh my God. I mean, that is just like, you know, come on. It's almost like they planted. I don't even believe it. I you know what I mean? Something was funny and fishy there, you know. But people capitalize because, you know, you're a good guy and you're, you know, trying to put yourself out there so other people could see what you're doing. I always feel it's kind of Tony Starkish a little bit, like, you know.
Oh wow,
his character. I mean, look what Robert Downey Jr. went through the same shit.
Oh yeah.
And, and he's here now. Just like you are. That's
not only here, he
became
the highest grossing actor. I don't know if it's of all time or there's a statistic. And I mean, that's a guy that was like standing in front of a judge talking about, you know, pleading not to get thrown into jail. Yeah. And, you know, and it just goes to show wherever you are right now is the result of the choices that you've made, but it doesn't have to define you for the rest of your life. You know, you can change your life no matter where you are and how unhappy you are with it. It takes action. It takes self-awareness, self-reflection, and, you know, ownership of responsibility. You know, not being a victim, you know, and a lot of people like to hide
resonated with me.
Yeah, they like to hide under the umbrella,
especially the one with your wife and you.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, you know, if two things ruin people: drugs, you know, and alcohol, all this, you know, that stuff, and a bad partner.
Absolutely, you know? For sure. The right one will make you, the wrong one will break you.
Yeah, totally. Because jealousy in this business does not work. You know, you got to be yourself to a certain. So I really liked how you and your wife, who you wrote a and you got an Emmy for it. Why can't I think of it right now? We were just talking about
Studio City.
Yes, yes. So and then you credit a lot of you were afraid to lose her.
Yeah.
And a lot of your credit to why you changed your life a little bit more and more. I mean, it just, to me, that's cool because, you know, I love a good love story, and then to see you guys as a power couple and able to discuss what so many people just, you know, they argue every day over these things, and then you are giving them tools, you know, like I told my husband, in spite. You know, he's like, he wants to beat you up now. He's like, whoa. And I'm like, in spite. Just remember, you don't love me in spite, you love me because, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. If you're looking to turbocharge your relationship, or if you're single and ready to find the right person, our new book, Way of the Cobra Couples, it's a lot of good stuff in there, and it's a fun read. And, you know, people ask us all the time, have you guys kept this marriage together in Hollywood, which is not the easiest place to have a marriage. And I mean, you know, we're not mental professionals, you know, mental health professionals. We're like two crazy kids who figured out a couple things, and we share them. And like I said, everyone's life's messy, you know. You know, my wife and I, we often will have a bench clearing, you know, screaming match, but what that means is we don't keep things inside and allow them to fester into resentments. You know, the communication is really important to us. And, you know, if you're hitting a tough time in your relationship, I would suggest that you go pick up the book on Amazon and read it with your partner and put it into action. And if your life doesn't change positively, you let me know and I'll send you your money back. How's that?
I love that. That's great.
I'm going to get the book too. I think that's an amazing find as well. That's great.
Thank you. Well, if you're going to get the book, read the first one first, though. Too. I read Way of the Cobra. There's Way of the Cobra. Welcome to the Kumite. Welcome to the Kumite is the sequel. That it's what is the Kumite? You know, it's an epic battle against your greatest opponent, who of course is you. And how do you win? How do you beat an opponent that knows everything about you? You know, your fears, your dark secrets. You do it by having a metaphoric death every day, extinguishing the person you were yesterday, and being reborn as a kinder, wiser, tougher, stronger version of yourself every day. It's a never-ending loop. And I talk about how to do that and how to, if you want results, ignore them, stay in the process, build a bulletproof process, and you don't have to worry about the results. You just apply the process consistently and effectively, and stay in the present.
Then I'm going to have to get a signed copy. That's what I'm going to have to do.
Go to waythecobra.com. That's where the signed copies come from.
There you go, Thumbs. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, tell them about the magazine. We're super excited because actually I got this connection through one of my lead writer, and he's phenomenal. He's out of England, and he just writes in a way that most Americans just they're not used to it. It's just a different kind of style.
I love it. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. So I'll send you a copy for free, obviously, and Adam will be getting a hold of you. But we actually had one of highlighted Martin in one of the magazines. So show that.
Oh, yeah.
So in the Billy Blanks magazine.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Martin Cove.
We had I'm excited about doing that with you.
Just saw Marty 2 days ago.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's great. What a great picture. Yeah.
So and the funny thing is that Billy Blanks, he's going to be on our show soon. He's going to be coming on here. But Martin Cove, there's a great shot I have from him coming to Alan's event, Action Martial Arts Magazine, Hall of Honors, and I met Martin, and I said, "Could you do me a favor?" I said, "Could you do a picture of me and you? You grab me by my shirt. You like this?" And he had the shirt on. I said, "Bow to your sensei." It was hilarious.
I love it.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Well, I hope I get the chance to meet you guys in person sometime. You guys are awesome. You have amazing energy. And,
Thank you.
I know you got to go. Yeah, I mean, you had really, it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I know you had a huge soap opera schedule yesterday and all kinds of stuff. So we so appreciate.
I appreciate it too, you guys. Please,
I mean, I could go on, but I want to save it for the magazine article and all that good stuff. And but is there I'd like to know what your daughter thinks of you as a father. And as an actor, are you close to her?
I'm close to all my kids. I mean, I consider my kids my stepkids.
Yeah, because you got 4 of them, right?
I'm close to all of them. And, the thing about stepkids is, like, your own kid kind of has to love you, Yeah. But your stepkids, you have to earn their love and approval and trust and all of that. And I worked very hard to do it. And, they saw a lot of the transformation that I went through. I think in a lot of ways I'm the same guy, but I'm a different guy also than when they first met me, and it brought us all closer. My daughters and I have a great relationship. I think she's proud of me, and she knows that I'm somebody she can trust and be herself with. And like I said, I'm a very blessed guy. I really am.
My husband came with a daughter, and I always tell her it was a package deal, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love your dad more because of how he loves you. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. That says a lot about you. That says a lot about you, that you've got a tremendous capacity for loving, that it's not just focused on your husband and seeing his child as kind of as a speed bump to it, but including her and everything. So good for you.
Well, that's when I saw your wife said that, in spite of my 4 kids.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
touched you. Yeah.
You're real. What I like about you is I feel like you're real. I don't feel like you're like behind closed doors. You're really some secret.
No. What you see is what you get, for better or for worse. You might not like it, but at least you're getting the authentic me. So anyway.
Should I ask him my signature question?
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Ask him his signature question.
My signature question, when I asked our guests, you ready? Mm-hmm. My signature question is, can you tell us something about Sean Kanan that most people don't know about Sean Kanan? I love the look that people give us whenever we ask that question. Like,
something people don't know. I mean, I could tell you something that's sort of superficial. That I've studied Mandarin Chinese for almost 3 years now, but I think probably just that I'm a pretty sensitive guy. I think most people that are actors are, but I think a lot of times people see me playing these, forceful characters, sometimes, bad guys and stuff. And I'm actually a pretty nice guy and pretty sensitive, and not very much like some of the characters I play at all.
That's kind of what I followed. I'm like, this guy's a pussycat. Like, I'm thinking I'm going to be researching a narcissistic guy, thinks he's all that because he's good looking. I deal with fighters. I know, you know what I mean? But I just feel like, if my athletes turn out half as good as you do in 30 years,
thank you.
I would be proud.
Thank you.
We appreciate you fitting us
but
in.
let's do this again sometime, okay?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Both of you.
And
Take care of yourself.
Ross, why don't you sign us off then?
All right,
Thank
guys.
you. All right.
Bye-bye.
I want to thank our fans, our friends, and families for coming to see the show today. We want to thank Sean for being on the show. What a great interview with an incredible career, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
When you started?
8.
And who was your sensei again?
Sakagami Ryusho.
I honestly believe this is the best DVD series on Kobudo that's ever been done.